Well, hiatus is upon us, so with no new episodes, what should I do? The episode Various and Sundry Villains got me to thinking about Rowena. Her episodes, her general storyline, maybe we should do a character study for her. So to that end, I double-checked all the episodes she had been in, rewatched several key scenes, and spent many hours thoroughly studying cosplay. Oh, right. So, let's take a look at her episodes and see where the character worked and where she didn't.
I put a spell on you.
For those who may have forgotten, her first appearance was 1003 Soul Survivor, where at the close of the episode, we see her sit in a room with two bodies pinned to the ceiling. Now, while this is visually interesting, once you look through more of her history, there becomes a big question of why did she do this as a character? The show establishes that she's 300 years old, she is aware of hunters, she has somehow avoided them, she ran into Ketch at some point during her long history, so she learned about the Men of Letters, but she was unaware of the Men of Letters' general hunting for the Grand Coven during that period, which implies that she was aware of and took some efforts to keep a low profile. But two bodies on the ceiling are not a low profile. The question is, other than to look cool at the end of an episode, what reason is there for the character to do something so blatantly obvious? Well, unfortunately, we'll figure out that is essentially her main motif. Instead of doing what a character logically would, she'll do whatever the plot requires. Now, for the next episode, 1007, let's play a mental exercise first. Here's Dean, and he's got his latest copy of Busty Asian Beauties, and he goes to his room in the bunker and sets it down, and then goes to the kitchen to get some pie. Because, he figures he's earned himself a break, and is going to treat himself today. Sam, deciding to play a prank on his brother, runs into the room, picks up the magazine, and runs off with it back to his own room. When Dean comes back with his pie, where will he expect to find the magazine? As a character, logically, he should expect to find it in his room, and then be shocked when it's not there. We, the audience, are aware Sam stole the magazine, but Dean, as a character, should not be. If he is, there needs to be an explanation for why. This is what gamers frequently call meta-knowledge, something the people outside of the story are aware of, which people inside the story should not be. This episode is a case of the boys being aware of what the audience knows, not what they should know. No, really. Rewatch this episode and skip over everything involving Castiel. Look at it just from the boys. So, the two guys, they meet the hooker and learn about the demon brothel. By the time they get there, the demons lie dead and the girls are gone. All they find is a hex bag. So, as far as they're aware, somebody just did their job for them. Maybe Dean is a little upset he didn't get to rescue the sexy ladies. As far as they can tell, they may have a new friend. Previous in the show, they had witches on their side. Following that, the boys run an analysis, and they get a hint about the bodies Rowena has left behind. Now, first of all, we established earlier, this makes no sense other than to give a reason for these guys to distrust her. I mean, it serves no logical point for her as a character to leave these obvious clues. But the thing is that from their perspective, what context does Sam and Dean have to assume that the bodies they find are completely innocent? I mean, imagine when the FBI, in those stories where they hunt down the guys, what's one of the most common problems? Well, the boys had to fight a demon and stabbed him with Ruby's knife. Well, you get a body left behind with a knife wound in it. The FBI have no background or context or even clues to let them know, oh, there was a demon in this body, it was self-defense. As far as they can tell, this guy was just stabbed. Later on in the episode, when they finally intercept Rowena, she is being held captive by the demons. So as far as they might be aware, the body she's left behind were demons that came after her, she self-defense. There is no real reason for them to assume Rowena's an enemy, except for the fact that we, the audience, know that she's less than trust. And this is also part of the problem, is that when the boys show up, she doesn't even bother trying to make a case to being on their side. She doesn't say, oh, thank you for showing up. She just calls them hunters, and then once the demons are beaten, then tries to attack them. You think if she lived for 300 years, she would have some experience in lying. Like, oh, thank you, boys. You saved me from those demons. I appreciate it. And then if they accuse her, she can lie some more and say, I'm just trying to help these poor innocent ladies get a fresh start in life. But no, she sends one of them to start attacking them. While they're doing that, she tries to escape. So at the end of the episode, Rowena finally meets Crowley, and we find out she is his mother. Now let's think about this a minute. Here's a mental exercise I like to engage in to grade how important something is to the plot. Let's mix it up. Let's change something between these two. Let's, for instance, say Crowley was the parent, and what if Rowena was the child? She was his daughter. Well, obviously you'd have to switch around and change a few words and lines, like instead of Rowena complaining about she'd rather have a living son, then she would say, I'd rather have a living father. But other than that, what would really change in the episode? How many lines and scenes would be fundamentally altered? If you think about it, almost none. In fact, if anything, their relationship starts to make more sense with Crowley being the parent and Rowena being the angry, abandoned daughter. Certainly it would explain her flip-flopping between wanting to do what's best for him versus wanting to kill him, because, that's how we kids can often be toward our parents. Her actions toward Gavin kind of makes a little bit more sense. She may have had some lingering resentment toward the son that Crowley preferred, or whichever. It would even help explain why Rowena went into witchcraft, if maybe she started on a path to try and save her dad from becoming a demon, and then got lost along the way. And that's the other major misstep with Rowena, is that her being Crowley's mother has no real substantial impact on the plots. For example, let's make another change. In season 9, Crowley reveals to his son Gavin that he sold his soul for male enhancement. Ha ha, very funny. What if that was a lie? Or what if it was revealed that, in actuality, Rowena was the one that sold Crowley in order to gain power? Because in Girls, 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 the one good retcon Carver gives for us is the 3 different type of witches. The natural, the ones that study, and the ones that sell out to demons. So what if Rowena, was a natural that was trying to sell out for demons and see if she could 2 out of the 3 become even more powerful. Plus, it would give us some nice parallels where, Mary unintentionally selling out Sam to the yellow-eyed demon. Long before that, another mother sold her son, only this for a more self-serving reason. The change also gives more pathos to Crowley's character, because he essentially becomes a victim who never wanted to be a demon, who nonetheless worked hard and moved up in the ranks to eventually become the king of hell. I mean, it's a dark rags to riches saga. It gives a lot more meat and weight to his actions, and now all of a sudden we understand that when you look back in the seasons, his efforts to maintain his kingship is probably some lingering effect over him once having been sold when he had no choice, and he wants to make sure something like that never happens again. Then it even starts to explain why Rowena reappears in season 10 and not earlier, because in season 9, at the end of season 8, when Sam very nearly cured Crowley, that would have maybe put Rowena's deal in jeopardy. The show could have even established that maybe her power is somewhat tied to his status, so as he's become king of hell, her magical ability has increased. So she reappeared in season 10 to check on what happened to her child, because if he was cured, then that would undo her deal and she'd go back to just being a regular witch again. The problem is, everything I just said was headcanon. None of that was actually in the episodes. You look through all of these, and Rowena being Crowley's mother is almost incidental. You can make her his grandmother, you can make her Crowley's aunt, cousin, make her a Winchester ancestor, for all the difference it makes to the story. The only real reason for her to be Crowley's mother is it then makes it easier for the audience to invent reasons for Rowena's actions. So in Things We Left Behind, There's another weird moment where Rowena locks Trish into a jail cell. Again, there's a question of why. Why not bring Trish with her and then have an ally on Crowley's courts or someone that can spy for her? Why does she keep Trish locked up? About any excuse you can make for not letting her out would also still kind of apply for keeping her in. The other weird part is that in these episodes, you almost get the sense that she's trying to manipulate Crowley, but after 300 years, she somehow doesn't know how to do it. So in the episode, Inside Man, Rowena tries to attack Dean Winchester, who has the Mark of Cain, so of course doesn't really do anything. The thing is, when he starts attacking her, she tells Dean Winchester the truth, that she's just doing what she thinks is best for Crowley. She doesn't even think about accusing Crowley of setting her up, of saying that she had to go do this or something. And then when she goes to Crowley, she then lies. When you think about it, the reverse should happen. She should tell Crowley the truth, and then she should lie to Dean, because then, if Dean and Crowley have some kind of powwow, and is like, "Why'd you send your mom to kill me?" "What? I didn't do that, Dean." "Why, I bet you're lying to me, just like all those other times you lied to me. I don't believe a word you've said." Oh, come on, Dean, don't be like that. She does like the exact thing she needs to increase the bond between Crowley and Dean, instead of driving a wedge between them. Even if Crowley and Dean did patch things up, it would be understandable if Dean had a sense of doubt with Crowley. That's something that could have been put in play. Instead, you have mistakes being made by a 300-year-old witch who should have at least figured out how to manipulate people just through simple trial and error by now. So after that, she then meets with Sam briefly at the end of 10:18, and then Sam proceeds to act like a little bit of a dick and chain Rowena up, because apparently in a world where demons can kiss to seal deals that cannot be broken, they're mystically enforced, you basically have to cheat to get around that. Rowena can't establish any kind of magical binding on their deal, which is funny because in this episode, part of Rowena's actions are actually listed as she doesn't trust him to keep up his end of the deal. So when you have all these parties participating where they have to work together, it becomes baffling that there is no simple magical spell to enforce the deal when there are magical spells for a whole bunch of other stuff that we've seen. Of course, the Werther Project doesn't really, because most of the Rowena scene in that episode isn't actually her. And then we have scenes with her and Charlie. Part of me is disappointed because you can tell, both in her performance and outside of it, that Ruth McConnell can be very, very charming. And yet, the episodes never give her any opportunity to demonstrate this charm. She badgers Charlie like she's a used car salesman. She doesn't, just shoot the breeze with the girl, get to talking with her about Oz, "Oh, you killed a wicked witch of the East. Well, I won't hold it personally against you," or anything like that. She apparently thinks interacting and trying to get someone to join her side basically means badgering them until they agree. I mean, I am woefully socially inept myself, but even I can get that if you kind of want to get someone on your side, you at least try talking to them first and bond with them over something, even if it's just a flavor of coffee you both like. Rowena gets Charlie so mad, she then has to run away from the witch and then die the most stupid, pointless death that is on record in Supernatural and in no danger of being broken anytime soon. Then we get the prisoner, where after trying to help Crowley for most of the season, she then wants to kill him because, again, not a character, just a plot device. And then at the end of the season, this part actually kind of amuses me. However, she is forced to go through with it and cast the spell to remove the mark. Go back and rewatch the scenes a little bit and honestly try and figure out, where is Rowena forced to do anything? Ironically, had the show established that Rowena and Sam made some sort of magical enforcing them to honor their agreement, then yeah, that's understandable. But you look at the scene and there's just Crowley and Castiel in there. Neither one of them make any sorts of threats. Castiel actually seems unwilling to go through with it. And certainly with the Book of the Damned at her fingertips and her actions shortly thereafter, they also don't seem to be in any position to threaten Oscar. So it's a real question of this bit that she is forced to go through. What exactly forced Rowena to do that, other than the writers? We then have season 11, where she still acts like a plot device, but it's all so generic, it's not immediately obvious how bad it is. You can maybe see some reasons for Lucifer to sway Rowena to help her, and then after that, she deciding to help Amara. Until then, that backfires, because, again, by this point, it's pretty clear that Carver and company have no established point for this character. Let's compare Rowena a moment to my favorite TV character of all time, Garak from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Now, for those that don't know, I will link below to a character analysis done by SF Debris. As one of Garak's biggest fans, I heartily endorse it. It's spot on, and it'll give you all the basics without you needing to watch the show. In a lot of ways, you can see where Rowena was kind of meant to mirror this character of a gray... No, it's not a racism joke about a skin color. I mean, morally gray character who is kind of on the hero side, but also having his own goals and sometimes doing things that the heroes may not necessarily approve of. The thing is while Garak was very often mysterious, and we can't be 100% confident about certain details with him, one thing we do absolutely know is he had a definite goal, and that is whatever is best for Cardassia and her people. His exact interpretation of that may not be what you think it is, but it was definitely there, and you could always figure out his actions through that goal. Rowena, what are her actions? I mean, again, if it's just survival, just looking for power, why does she leave bodies to lure enemies to her? Why does she so rarely seem to have contingency plans? Why does she take so many actions that are detrimental to what we usually have to headcanon as her efforts? Because for seasons 10 and 11, there are no solid answers for what Rowena's goals are. Things definitely improve in seasons 12 and 13. At least there, for example, in episode 1202, Mamma Mia, we see Rowena trying to romance a rich, successful man. Okay, a little cliche, but there's at least something interesting in there, because we notice that she's trying to romance the guy just using her natural feminine charm instead of going about it using magic, which, if you think she was all about power, whether magical, social, financial, anything like that, you think chant the guy and then just have a love slave. But no, she's honestly trying to be normal with Ben. So we get some kind of estimation that maybe her goal now is just to try to get out of the life. And from there, in season 12, Rowena's actions actually start making more sense. Lucifer finds her, wants to force her to take an action, and she does what she should have done in earlier seasons, plays along until she can betray him when it makes it clear that he's not going to follow through on the deal. Then in episode 12-11 regarding Dean, we get the Rowena that you kind of wish was at the start, because yeah, she may not necessarily want to help the brothers, but she understands if she does a favor for them and is nice to them, they will owe her. It'll be in her own best interest. So yeah, she goes there, helps out Dean, and gets a powerful book out of the deal. Perfectly logical character-wise. Family Feud, her actions with Gavin are kind of dark, but do make a little bit of sense, as in some ways revenge for Oscar, even if that scene wasn't necessarily well done. And then she dies and comes back again. And then in her latest episode, you get a real motivation nailed down, that she has experienced something so traumatic that now she is really seeking to be safe. Her actions in the episode still have some issues, like lying to both the girls and the boys, and not in a very clever way, but at least her interactions with Sam finally showed a Rowena that I could actually believe is a manipulator. Because, like I said with Charlie, she attempted to bond with Sam and to connect with him over something they had in common, an experience with Lucifer that almost no one else in the world, save perhaps Castiel, could understand. I feel a little sorry for her, because the actress is admittedly very talented, is a testament to her that she can make a lot of this material work, even when a lot of the older stuff just provided her really with nothing. And so I'm kind of hoping that at least before this season is out, and if there is a season 14, maybe during that one, they can finally bring Rowena around to really the character she should have been. But hey, that's just my opinion on her.
You better stop the fight.